In 9 days, France welcomes the continent. The Euro 2016 football tournament begins. So far, the mood is as grey as the skies that have relentlessly parted since the weekend. The country in the throes of its 7th week of strikes. Fans next week set to sample firsthand the protests against labor reform. There are concerns over security. The state of emergency still in force since the November Paris attacks means there'll be plenty of pat-downs, with the U.S. issuing a fresh travel advisory to its citizens. How safe will the tournament be? But a parable for the nation's mood is the national team itself, with injuries aplenty and football legend Eric Cantona accusing the coach of racism for leaving Karim Benzema and Hatem Ben Arfa, both prolific scorers with their clubs, both mired in locker room controversies, both of North African heritage. Are these calls of racism justified? How much should a national team reflect a nation? Those who remember the 2010 team that actually went on strike at the World Cup in South Africa may be tempted to ask, what is it about the French when it comes to football? Today in the France 24 debate, we're looking at France's football blues. And with us to talk about it, the opening match and the final taking place in his hometown, Saint-Denis City Councillor Majid Bessaouden of the Front de Gauche, the front of the left, I guess.
Yeah, you can say that.
How you translate it.
Yeah.
Also with us, sports writer Igor Mladenovic, a contributor to The Guardian. From Manchester, Andrew Gibney, founder of French Football Weekly. Many thanks for being with us. And also with us, France 24 sports editor Kedevan Gorgestani. The France 24 debate, where you've been weighing in on this conversation on Twitter and Facebook, our hashtag F24debate. First there was Cantona, then there was the man himself, Karim Benzema, days after winning the Champions League with Real Madrid, telling Spanish newspaper Marca that coach Didier Deschamps had, quote, bowed to pressure from a racist part of France in his selection process. Clément Bonnereau explains.
At pain, he kept silent for weeks. Karim Benzema spoke to Spanish newspaper Marca about France's decision not to include him in the Euro 2016 squad. The Real Madrid striker says French coach Didier Deschamps is partly to blame.
He has bowed to the pressure of a racist part of France. In sporting terms, I don't understand why I haven't been selected.
The French Football Federation chose not to select Benzema in April after he was accused of attempting to blackmail his former teammate Mathieu Valbuena with a sex tape. Benzema, who is of Algerian descent, denies any wrongdoing and insists the FFF and Deschamps had ulterior motives. His accusation comes after comments made by former football star Eric Cantona earlier this week, suggesting that both Benzema and Hatem Ben Arfa had been left out of France's squad because of their ethnicity.
Deschamps, he has a really French name. Maybe he's the only one in France to have a truly French name. Ben Arfa is maybe the best player in France today, but they have some origins.
Deschamps has declined to respond, but said he would take legal action against Cantona. The head of the FFF has also said Deschamps was beyond reproach, and several French politicians have spoken in support of Les Bleus coach.
What is this racist part of France that Benzema talks about? I condemn these sweeping statements. France is not a racist country.
French football has often been the focus of nationwide anxieties about race. Many say current debates are a far cry from the glory days of 1998, when the French won the World Cup with players that came from all corners of the world. Despite the controversy, Benzema has pledged to support France in the Euro 2016 tournament, which is due to start on June the 10th.
Majid Bessaouden, I'm going to read to you the reaction of the head of SOS Racisme. It's an anti-racism advocacy group.
They pretend to be that, yeah.
He said, Dominique Sopo saying, it's the first time I've ever heard Karim Benzema being interested in questions regarding racism. And is it all a smokescreen? After all, this is a man whose entourage tried to blackmail a fellow teammate from the national team with a sex tape.
Yeah, we have something in front. What I want to say first is that Karim Benzema is very fair play because he wants France to win the Euro, despite the fact that he's not in the French football team. he is accused of some blackmail, but we have the presumption of innocence in France. Didier Deschamps, there's an investigation on misuse of corporate assets, but he's still at the head of the French football team. So I think that the accusation of Benzema is quite right. I won't say that Didier Deschamps is racist, but this story about the racism in the football, in the French football is not recent. In 2011, we had a controversial about a politic of quotas that Laurent Blanc wanted to improve in the national football team.
Let's just explain that to our viewers. Back in 2011, there was a meeting at the French Football Federation. The then national coach, Laurent Blanc, who's now the coach of Paris Saint-Germain, he's quoted as saying, in that meeting, we have the impression when we train players to come up through the ranks, we're only training the big, powerful ones. And who are the big, powerful ones? The blacks. That's the way it is. That's a fact. He says that we need to have more technical players. He later apologized for that statement. And those who know Laurent Blanc...
We can't apologize and continue like before. I think that when you say that a player can't be powerful and technical, this is like racism. You just put in mind that the Africans are more powerful than the others. I think there's a real problem of racism in France. And as a part of France is racist, it's normal that in the football environment you can find racism. And I think that the problem is that people don't want to see it in France. And what makes me really upset is that all the politicians that today condemned what Benzema said, none of them has never been victim of racism. None of them. So Benzema knows what he talks about. And the reaction of SOS Racisme, which is supposed to be a French anti-racist NGO, is really, really bad because Benzema, it's not the first time that he speaks about social things. And the fact is that I'm sure that if he's not today in the French football team, it's also because of his origins.
Also because of his origins?
Yeah, of course. Let me remind you what Noël Le Graët said in December...
The head of the federation.
Yes, December 2015. He received like a wagon of racist letters just after the case of the sex tape. Hundreds or thousands letters saying that they don't want of French supporters, saying that they don't want Benzema in the football French team. So I think that, as Benzema said, Deschamps was under pressure, and he decided not to take Benzema in the French team.
Igor Mladenovic, your thoughts on this? And by the way, we have a poll here. We asked viewers on the hashtag F24debate, should Karim Benzema have been selected for the national squad? 64% yes, 36% no.
Well, I guess this shows above all the divisions in French football, which reflect some of the other divisions in French society, some of the social debates we've been having in the past few months. I wouldn't really make a statement on whether he should have been called up. What is obvious, though, is that his current legal proceeding pertains to a teammate with the France national team, a teammate who has probably friends among that team. And so without knowing whether he is a culprit or not in this case, there will definitely have been some tensions.
What's bizarre about this case is they even played a friendly, I believe, against Armenia together.
Yes,
after
and they showed
the alleged incident happened.
Their friendship, yes. So it's all pretty blurry, and it's difficult to make a sweeping statement, which is what Eric Cantona typically made.
Let me bring in Andrew Gibney on this. Andrew, Karim Benzema, highest scoring player in activity for the French national squad. Should he be playing at Euro 2016?
See, I think Deschamps made the right decision here. And as Benzema said, if it was truly for sporting reasons, he would be picked in the squad. His form for Real Madrid sort of means you have to pick him, but he may have scored goals for France, but his overall performances have not been great. And as Igor said, Valbuena is going to have friends, Benzema is going to have friends on his side, and you can't go into a tournament, especially after 2010 when it all broke down sort of awfully, and you can't go into a tournament with people making rumours, talking about this behind people's backs, and building divisions in the team. If I was Deschamps, I wouldn't have picked Valbuena either, but his form for Lyon sort of made that a non-issue. And I think Deschamps has done the right thing purely for harmony, and he has always said he doesn't pick the best players, he picks the best squad. That's what he's done. I think he's made the right decision, regardless of how many goals Benzema scored for
and
France.
how about the Nice striker Hatem Ben Arfa, who's enjoyed one of his best seasons?
For Ben Arfa, he has had one of his best seasons ever, but he's had a lot of bad seasons before, and he has a history of being a troublemaker. But he has also got players in front of him, like Griezmann, Anthony Martial, Kingsley Coman, who will play in a similar position, who are in a better, stronger, and more sort of harmonious place to be part of this French team. Ben Arfa is on the reserve list. If another player drops out, touch wood, it doesn't happen, then Ben Arfa would probably come into the squad. He has been picked in some part, just not in the main 23, and I think Deschamps made the correct decision for sporting and harmonious reasons there as well.
All right, only one player, Kedevan Gorgistani, Ramzi, who is of North African origin in this squad of 23.
Adil Rami, who came in as after an injury, so he's coming in. He's of North African descent, so he's the one North African on the team. And the interesting thing is the way the team is perceived, because we've seen in the story before those headlines saying the end of the Black Blanc Beurre, the 98 team.
Explain that for us, please.
The Black Blanc Beurre was the white, the blacks, and the North Africans. That was the team of 98 that won the World Cup, that was hailed as the symbol of diverse France. If you take that team and you take the team today, you look at them, they're exactly as diverse. So in 98, it was hailed as the symbol of diversity. And today, the debate is there racism, and are they keeping out North Africans from the French team? In 98 and in 2000, there was one North African. It was Zinedine Zidane. That's it. So there is a question. Is it really an anti-North African thing that's going on in the team when the team has evolved? There have been North Africans on the team. Karim Benzema has been selected so many times on this French team. So the timing, and the question is kind of a timing. Is the pressure, the racist pressure that he's talking about, did it come after the sex tape scandal? Wasn't it there before? If people don't want him because he's North African, his sex tape shouldn't have anything to do with it.
And we've had second guessers being second guessed, with some saying that Eric Cantona has a personal score to settle with Didier Deschamps.
He does have a personal history since 1996 when Manchester United played against Juventus in the Champions League. So that's a 20-year-old conflict between the two of them. Some would say that Cantona blames Deschamps for not having been selected in the 1998 World Cup. So that's an objective, indeed, observation to make. What's more, it is a very serious allegation that Cantona has made of Deschamps selecting players based on origin. It is worth remembering that Deschamps is not French, he's of Basque origin. So there's a lot of subjective statements which have been made and which are really can be discussed.
One of the things, we didn't mention it there in the statement that we showed you on screen, in what Eric Cantona told The Guardian, was the fact that the French Prime Minister weighed in. And that perhaps, Majid Messaoudine, will you grant us that if the Prime Minister hadn't said before the final squad was announced, I don't think that they should be picking Benzema, that we wouldn't be having this discussion right now?
Well, I think what Manuel Valls said had consequences on the decision that took the French Football Association.
Did it fuel a political climate?
Well, I think we can't ignore the context in France. I think the context in 1998 is not the same as today. We really are in a different society today. France,
Really, because
a
three
big part of
three
France
years
is
after that win in 1998, the National Front was in the second round of the presidential election.
That's what I say. Football team, the French football, it's not a bubble. They don't live a part of the society. And I think that the pressure that Benzema talks about is a real one. And I think that Manuel Valls did participate to that pressure. It's not his job to say who can play or not in the French football team. His job is just to lead France. And I think that talking of Benzema as he talks about Roms or foreigners is something that really shocked a lot of people. So I think that in this case, I want just to say that Cantona is not the only one that said about this case. Jamel Debbouze said the
French comedian.
Exactly the same. Yeah, but he has the same statement. So we can't ignore it. We can't say that the origins of Benzema have nothing to see what happened.
Andrew Gibney, would a British Prime Minister weigh in on a controversy like the one of the Karim Benzema sex tape blackmail?
Yeah, I think I doubt they would weigh in the same way. I don't think you'd get David Cameron saying that Wayne Rooney couldn't go, or it would probably get mentioned, but I don't think in the same way. So another point I want to make on Benzema, if Deschamps had something against him, or players of North African descent, this is a player who went over 1,200 minutes without scoring for France and was continually picked in the squad. He had a genuine reason there. If he had something against the player or that kind of player, then he could have dropped him. But he didn't. He continued to pick Benzema. This shows you it's not a sporting decision. He's done it for the harmonious side of the squad and trying to keep everyone together. And I think there may be other issues. I don't think he's really got anything against this type of player or Benzema himself.
He's not guilty of anything.
All right, lots of reactions coming in, and the public divided on the hashtag F24 debate. Racism is everywhere, but this time I think the blackmail issue is crucial. After all, Benzema has made the team before. We're going to pick up on it when we come back. You're watching the France 24 debate.